The date that this video is posted proves that these predictions are being made ahead of time, as do these time-stamped emails and forensic notes PDF documents. If you are skeptical for some reason, please email me and I will forward these to you. If you have already watched this introductory information in another video, you can skip ahead no more than 14 minutes. All right, this video was originally produced prior to January 1st and 2nd, and God was pointing to this date in regards to the predicted death of Kamala Harris in a plane crash. This January 1st to 2nd, 2025 date, which is Hanukkah Day 8 in the Hebrew calendar. Now, the way God's true big picture of signs, patterns, and connections works, which is only being explained on this channel, is that it is an interconnected web, and the full intended meaning of any of God's prophetic signs cannot be fully or properly understood without their context and connections to the other prophetic signs. It's the exact same way with the Bible. The Bible isn't a linear document, and all of it is connected to itself. You can take an infinite number of pathways through the Bible because it is all interconnected. That's the way it is with God's prophetic signs. And so to do this, like a spider web, we need these nodes in which the strings connect to each other, if you will. These are these steps in the trail of signs. So in other words, God is establishing a trail of signs. And one of these steps, nodes in the web, is January 1st and 2nd. In regards to the predicted death of Kamala Harris in a plane crash, it is a step. And we expected either for Kamala Harris to die on this date or there be actually it was recognized before January 1st that it would only be a step, but not before the production of this video. But that's fine, because the reason why God is making these predictions in the first place, and this is key, please pay attention. This is the important thing to understand here. The reason for the prediction is not for us to say, oh, cool, God predicted this ahead of time. The purpose of this prediction is for God to tell his stories that he is telling through his big picture of signs, patterns, and connections. And this requires, like I just explained, these trails of signs and interconnected signs that point to a particular date ahead of time, for example. And it is through God's stories that he is telling through these trails of signs that he's able to communicate extremely important information and knowledge, which is only being explained on this channel. Okay, and so this video, after I'm done this introduction here, will be about how God pointed to January 1st and 2nd ahead of time. That needs to be learned so that you can learn the stories that God was telling, and they are amazing. They are not only amazing, the information is important and extremely essential. So the wise person will recognize when the prediction comes to pass that Kamala Harris will die in a plane crash on January 8th, that they need to watch every minute of every video on this channel, including all of the Kamala Harris crash prediction videos, including the information for how God pointed to January 1st and 2nd ahead of time. By the way, it's January 1st and 2nd because it's Hanukkah Day 8, and in the Hebrew calendar, the dates begin at sunset and go to sunset. Okay. So regarding what happened on January 1st, that confirmed all of the analysis. Today, as I'm speaking, it is the early AM, January 2nd, so there may be more to this, because again, he was pointing to both dates. But regarding what happened on January 2nd, we have amazing signs that I'll briefly explain, but more details regarding these signs are explained in the New Year's Eve or New Year's attacks video. Okay, the thumbnail that says New Year's attacks. Okay. Now, Kamala Harris's plane crash is predicted to be caused due to lightning. There's profound symbolism in this. The reason why is that Jesus said he saw Satan falling like lightning from heaven. He said this in Luke 10:18. Okay, and the name Barack Obama means in Hebrew, lightning from heaven. Barak means lightning. Bama means high place, which in the Bible is a metaphor for heaven. And, for example, Lucifer is said to have fallen from the high place. And also in the Bible, the high place is a euphemism for the false religious worship that the Jews would conduct on the tops of mountains, which is Antichrist symbolism. And in the language Jesus would have spoken, Aramaic, the word for from is O. And so Barack Obama means lightning from heaven. Either Jesus didn't know what he was saying when he said this, or he knew there would be a famous president named Barack Obama and said this anyway, or he was revealing the identity of the Antichrist. Obviously, the latter option is the only one that makes any sense. This is why we received all of this lightning symbolism on January 1st. First of all, there were 4 profound prophetic, and even the mainstream media is talking about it. Those that don't know anything about God or let alone prophetic signs are talking about this. This coincidence of these 4 iconic locations in New York and Washington, D.C. having been hit by lightning on this New Year's Eve night. The mainstream media is, of course, mocking conservatives who are saying that it's a sign from God that's pointing to the new chapter of America when Trump takes power. But Trump isn't going to take power. The reason why Kamala Harris will fall in a plane crash caused by lightning, which will symbolize when Jesus said he saw Satan falling like lightning from heaven, is that due to her plane crash and her fall from the sky, the Antichrist will rise to become the president again, Barack Obama. Okay, so that's the purpose of the plane crash. This plane crash of Harris's has been known through God's prophetic signs since 2020. Okay, and there's been hundreds of signs regarding this theme since then. Now, in fact, the signs go back well before Harris was even a household name. But that's another story. So we have these 4 lightning strikes, which, by the way, is in itself interesting because we are talking about the 44th president. But there were 2 lightning strikes on the 2 iconic towers in New York City and 2 lightning strikes on the iconic locations in Washington, D.C., the Capitol building and the Washington Monument. These 2 lightning strikes on the 2 iconic towers in New York obviously hint at the 2 planes that struck the Twin Towers on 9/11. Likewise, the 2 strikes in Washington, D.C. hinted at the 2 planes that were destined for Washington on 9/11 to be crashed into sites, including the Capitol building, we think, on 9/11. Okay, and so also, speaking of New York, one of the signs was the New York City story of the day was the heavy rain during the ball drop for the New Year's countdown. Kamala Harris is predicted to drop out of the sky. And I assume there will be heavy rain because she's predicted to have her crash caused by lightning. But also, heavy rain is Noah's flood symbolism. In the account of the flood, God gave Noah a 7 days warning. And so from these warning signs on January 1st, it is 7 days to the date it is predicted that Kamala Harris will die in a plane crash. January 8th was known before, and independently, like I said, it was known before January 1st. And so this is confirmation, this Noah's flood symbolism sign. We are just scratching the surface here, though, of the lightning symbolism on January 1st. Because we also have these 2 New Year's Eve attacks which contain lightning symbolism. First, we have the explosion of the Tesla Cybertruck in front of the Trump International Hotel. Now, without getting into the details regarding Trump, because that's not what this video is about, but Trump is predicted to die on January 10th. But the Tesla Cybertruck is lightning symbolism, because God is using in his signs Tesla to symbolize lightning. Not only is it symbolism for electricity, which is symbolism for lightning, but Nikola Tesla is famous for his experiments with lightning. Then we had also, in conjunction with this terrorist attack in Las Vegas at the Trump Hotel, we have what is believed at this point probably to be coordinated with the attack in Las Vegas, this attack also using a vehicle in New Orleans. Now, the attack in New Orleans is highly interesting because it involves this Muslim terrorist that was serving in the U.S. Army for 10 years, and it was in the 18th state to join the Union. Now, 18 is 6 plus 6 plus 6, which is the number of the Antichrist, 666. Also, the Antichrist was born in 1961, and 61 is the 18th prime number. But this 10 years service for the U.S. Army and him doing this attack in the 18th state hinted at Luke 10:18, which is when Jesus said he saw Satan falling like lightning from heaven. Wow. Not only that, the initial reports in the first chaotic minutes after the attack, the media was speaking about, or the headlines were, at least 10 deaths. And so at least 10 deaths in the 18th state is also a hint at Luke 10:18, which of course again is lightning symbolism. What's also interesting too is that the attack occurred at 3:15 a.m. Let's call it 3 a.m. Because Paul Simon released with Art Garfunkel his first album, and it was titled Wednesday Morning 3 a.m. That album was released the day before Kamala Harris was born. Okay, Kamala Harris's birth followed the release of Wednesday Morning 3 a.m., and Kamala Harris's death will follow this attack on Wednesday morning 3 a.m. Now, like I explained, the rest of this video will explain how God pointed to January 1st ahead of time. And like I explained, this information must be learned, and therefore this video must be watched. Now, before I begin this information, I'll also add that now that it has been explained how God's true big picture of signs, patterns, and connections works, there are 70 videos that explain the trails of signs that led to February 10th, 2024. The same is true for these videos. The information in the videos, the prediction that she would die in a plane crash on February 10th, and all of the information that God demonstrated that led to February 10th is 100% correct. And these videos explain, like I'm saying, these stories through which God is telling extremely important information and knowledge. In other words, you need to seek out the February 10th videos and watch these videos also. This also applies also to May 19th, 2024, and also December 24th, 2024. But I think there are only a few videos for those two dates. Make sure you watch the videos for them, but also February 10th. One thing to add to that is that the February 10th videos are the trails of signs that go back years. So I just couldn't continue to update these 70 videos for every step in the trail. I decided that something new needed to be done, and that was to, in future videos, direct you to the videos that point to February 10th. The trails that led to February 10th are the trails that go back years. And so you will find not only the information amazing, but also it's extremely important, the knowledge and information that God is communicating through the stories he is telling, like I explained. Harris was born 1 year, 8 months, and 8 days after construction began on the Gateway Arch in St. Louis. H188 is "whoa!" in Strong's Concordance. And in the Bible, judgment on a people begins at the gate. All right, that's why Kamala Harris was born 1 year, 8 months, and 8 days. After the arch began to be constructed, H188 is the reason. It is used in the Bible in the context of extreme judgment from God. And in the Bible, judgment begins at the gate. That's why it's the gateway arch. The inverse of 89 is 0.01123. 1123 is the 188th prime number. Harris's predicted plane crash next to the Gateway Arch in St. Louis on January 1st, 2025 will be exactly 890 days, which hints at 89, and therefore, whoa, exclamation mark, after prophetic, historic, and destructive flooding occurred in St. Louis, including at the Gateway Arch. That flooding on July 26, 2022 was exactly 600 plus 600 plus 600 days after the path of totality of the solar eclipse in 2017 passed over St. Louis. And in the Bible, the flood began when Noah was 600 years old. That's why the connection to the flooding in St. Louis of 600 plus 600 plus 600 days, but also this is at 666, the number of the Antichrist, and the Antichrist will become the president again as a result of the death of Kamala Harris in a plane crash.